begin today by going over number 11, where you had to look at a box plot and figure out what the 5-number summary is based on the dots that you see. So when you're looking at a box and whisker plot, the number to the far left is always your lower quartile, actually your minimum. So your minimum here is 80. The lower quartile, also known as Q1, is going to be the next dot right there, which looks like it's placed at 82. The median is the line in the middle of the box, also represented by that dot. It appears to be a little bit higher than 85, right? So I'm thinking it's going to be 85.5. And then your Q3 is going to be the next line ending the box here, where that dot is. That looks like 93. And the maximum is the farthest dot to the right. And the farther that dot goes over, the more likely there is that there might be an outlier. Whether that max, so this whisker on the right, if that max is really far to the right, then this one might be an outlier. If this one is really far to the left, then this one might be an outlier at the bottom. Something like here, what I have on this screen. There you go. So this little graph up at the top, maybe we had those ages of the people at the party clustered around these young ages, but there's this one person who was at the party that's pretty old compared to the rest of them. That would be considered an outlier. So the longer the whiskers are, the more likely there is an outlier within the data. Okay? Now let's go back here and talk briefly about another concept that will be on the test, and it's about how many or what percent of the data is inside each group. So with a dot here and a dot here and one more here and one here and one there are 5 dots breaking the data up into 4 parts, 4 quartiles, or 4 25% regions. So each of the little gaps between each of those green dots represents 1/4, 1 quartile, or 25% of the data. So if number 11 was representing test results once again on a 100-point test, and let's say that 100 people took the test, I would say 25 of those 100 people scored between 93 and 100, 1/4 of them, all right? There's also 1/4 of the people that scored right in here between 80 and 82. So one thing to keep in mind is like the concentration of how many people are in each of those little groups. So the same number of results would be in this little gap between 80 and 82 as this wider region between 93 and 100. The same number of people are crammed into both of those 2 zones. Okay? So some of the questions you might hear would be stuff like this. What percent of the students scored 85.5 or better? What percent would that be total? Correct, 50%. What percent of the students scored below 93? 75%, okay? What percent of the students scored either lower than 82 or higher than 93? You would have to add the 25% lower than that and the 25% higher than that, so that would be 50% as well, okay? So keep in mind those quartiles that I just talked about, because questions like that will be on the next test, all right?